Hey everybody, it's Lindsay from North End Organic Nursery and Garden Minutes, and today we're going to talk about season extension and specifically about the benefits that you can get from using frost blanket, also called row cover, agribon, frost guard. There's lots of things. This one's called N-sulate is the brand name by the company DeWitt, but this is a very valuable season extension tool. It's reusable from year to year, and it can give you up to 8 degrees of frost protection, which is really nice when we're talking about trying to extend how long we can grow these cold hardy vegetables. Now, cold hardy does not mean hard freeze hardy, and once it gets really super cold, they will just stop growing. Some of them will actually die. Some of them will just go dormant and actually surprise you in the springtime by bouncing back. But what we want to do is extend our season as long as possible. So here we are in October at the time this video is being made, and I've got my fall veggies that are all my cold hardy stuff. That will be things that I'm eating the root, stem, or leaf from. So remember, our fruiting varieties typically tend to be hot weather crops, and our vegetable varieties, where we're actually eating the vegetative part of the plant, tend to be more of our cold lovers. So I've got my cold lovers in here. I got them planted super late because we just did this whole backyard transformation, but they're still doing great, and I can get a lot more growth out of them over the next month or two just by giving them a little extra protection. Idaho weather is fun. we had like blazing heat, and then the temperature dropped, and then it got hot again, and then the temperature dropped, and it's about to drop again, and then we're gonna have a little bit more warmth. So there's a lot that we can actually still redeem out of this growing season, and by using a frost blanket, it will help us to kind of mitigate those ups and downs. So just gonna show you today about how I put my frost blanket on my bed. There are so many different ways to do it. A lot of people will use hoops. I do have hoops, and I sometimes use them, but with my plants growing so low right now, I'm not really going to bother with them, and they've been kind of hard to come by sometimes. So today I'm gonna forego hoops, but I am gonna show you how I like to attach my floating row cover on top of my veggies so it doesn't blow away. All right, stick with me. All right, so first thing we're gonna talk about is the actual product I'm using here today. This is called N-sulate from DeWitt. I don't know if that came out backwards in the camera or not, but N-sulate, in the implication being this is an insulating type of frost blanket. There's another product that they make called Harvest Guard. It's a much lighter, thinner product that I recommend for spring crops because it helps to keep the insects off, like leaf miner and cabbage looper and several other just chewing insects that can wreak havoc in the spring. It is lighter weight so that when we have those warm spring days, it doesn't overheat things, but it's also got enough protection so that if there's a random frost that happens, you have protection there as well. It still helps to keep the soil up a bit. But anyway, we're using the N-sulate today, and it's a 12-foot by 10-foot section. I have 2 beds here that I'm going to be covering, and they are both 8 feet by 4 feet. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 pieces here that are each 10 feet long. The reason why I want to do that is because obviously if I've got a 4-foot wide bed, a 6-foot piece should be plenty enough to cover it with a little bit of extra on either side. Now if I was going to hoop them, I'd obviously have to cut it differently, but since I'm not hooping them, I think that's how I'm going to do it today. Okay, I have laid out my frost blanket. I cut it into a 6 by 10. So I have 2 6 by 10 pieces here now. And what you see lying on the edges there to hold it down, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to attach them, is actually just these 10-foot sticks of electrical conduit, which works out nicely because I have 2 10-foot by 6-foot beds covers now. So I will have full 10 feet to cover the full 10 feet of the blanket, probably a little bit of that hangover. Now, why do I use these? I'll show you and talk to you more about it once it's completed, but basically I am going to attach my floating row cover to this particular piece of metal. It's got a little bit of weightiness to it, inexpensive, maybe $2-3 at your local hardware store, and I will literally take the floating row cover, the frost blanket, and fold it over here and safety pin it down so it holds on to this, and then when I am ready to access my beds, I can just take this pull and move it over to the other side, and then when I'm ready to close it back up, pull it back over. Now I've used all kinds of implements around my yard, shovels, rocks, horseshoes, just anything weighty to hold down my blankets in the past. And wind does not care if it's heavy or not. It will find a way to scoot it out. So it's really important to secure your blanket down the full extent of it. As you can see, another piece of floating road cover is about to fly by me right now because wind and road cover are not friends. This is probably not the best day to be doing this, but hey, it's gonna get really cold tonight and I wanted to protect stuff. So here we are. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and attach with safety pins the edges of my floating road cover to my electrical conduit here, and be back in a second to show you how it all turned out. Okay, so what I have done here is I've taken this electrical piece of conduit like we talked about, and about every 1.5 feet I have put a safety pin. And what I did is I doubled over one side and then kind of bunched up the other side, so it kind of had a double layer on each piece, so a total of 4 layers thick here. And that's just to keep it from ripping. Gives it a little extra security. I put some slightly larger safety pins on that I kind of wove in and out. And what I did is I started with one in the middle, did one on each end, and then just started splitting the difference until it felt nice and secure. So got them about every 18 inches. I'm about to put the final one right there. And just to show you, see if I can do it one-handed. Kind of folded over like that, and then grouped up so that I could have 4 layers thick and give that extra security. Almost done here. Okay, we're really starting to fight the wind here. Not the ideal day to do it in. I actually cut my my floating road cover indoors and brought that outdoors so I didn't have to wrestle it out here, but it's all pinned down. I showed you how I did that. It comes down all the way pretty much to the very end. And all I'm gonna do now is take the other side and simply toss it over. Now it is a floating road cover here. This will now gently float above this. If I wanted to make it a little bit more tight and secure so that there's less air getting in there, I'll just drop this down and it kind of takes over the edge there. You can add weights on the end if you want to. I don't really think it's necessary. But for little low growing crops like what I've got here, this is perfect. Now for this back bed, I am gonna put the hoops because I have some taller items in there. Putting some peas that are unhappy and struggling, but it was kind of like they were left over at the nursery, and I'm like, hey, let's see if they happen. So I'm gonna try to save them. I'm not giving up on them yet, but because my kale will get a little bit taller, I think I might try to put my little wire hoops on there, and I'll kind of do a fast motion through that. I also include the hoops in on the spring prepare and protect video that we have on there. But that is basically it. It's super simple. You're getting that 8 extra degrees of protection. Water will go through this, by the way, and it is reusable year after year. If it gets dirty, it just lightly wash it in your bathtub, or you can put it in the washing machine. My camera is going back and forth because it's so windy out, so bear with me here. What else? That's basically it. I highly suggest everybody do this to stretch out your growing season. And if this has been a useful video, we would really appreciate you commenting below. I would love to see if you execute this in your own yard. Would you take pictures and post it in the comments below? I'd love to see it. If you find a modification on my whole electrical conduit method, I'd love to see that too, because it's always a work in progress. As gardeners, we are never done learning, and I learn from you all as much as hopefully you learn a few things from me. So thank you for watching today. This has been Lindsay with Garden Minutes. Please subscribe to our channel, and if you have any questions or comments, please comment within the YouTube video below so that I can respond to them all in one place, not on other social media platforms. But thanks again for joining us, and if you have any questions, let me know. Have a wonderful fall.